Hi guys, today we have Peter Buinger of AV Showrooms and Prudence Burns, sorry, and please enjoy the show about how to improve life through music and meditation. I'll let Peter take it away.
Well, it's an honor to meet you.
You too.
Thank you very much. You know, life to me is about music. And parts of our life are so much stress in our life that at the end of the day, what a better way to more relax than to put on something, a beautiful symphony or a beautiful song that we've heard when we were younger growing up. And you know that more than anyone else, and you were famous for it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to meet you and
Nice.
and just ask, what was the first music you were introduced to?
The first music that I remember as I became conscious of myself living was opera.
Opera.
And I had a little 45 record player.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it could have been 33, but we had a little round thing in the middle.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of little records, 45s, of Mario Lanza.
Yeah.
And I would listen. It was Alice in Wonderland, and there was a place on it where I would put my head, and I would just listen. It was always the best parts of different operas, and so I would just listen over and over and over again, cry, conduct, all of that. I agree. I think that music is the closest thing that we have in our material world, so to speak, that there is to magic.
Yeah.
It has the ability to get us closest to our spirit.
I agree.
And so I think it's a very important thing that we need, and I also think it's something, you can't control artists, but I do think that artists, some of them need to be a little bit more responsible about their art, because art is such a powerful thing, and because we need it. So being able to meet the Beatles, who were the spirit, who expressed the spirit, who expressed the voice of many of us coming of age in the 60s. They went through what we went through. They went through, the happiness and joy of growing up with, their happy music, their first music, and then they went through the deeper, sort of darker, more psychedelic era, and then they went into India and on out. They had a power because they tapped into the core of what a bunch of us were. And I was telling the group earlier today that it was very much like when Steve Jobs would come out with a new iPhone thing, the thrill and the excitement when they came out with a new album, because we would listen to it and it would speak to us on many levels. So music is a very powerful thing, and when I was in India and able to meet them and talk to them, one of the things that George was saying was that what he had learned from the journey that many of us made through the 60s was that he wanted to dedicate his life to using the power of music to bring people to more subtlety, to help awaken in them that more conscious part, that spirit in them. And yes, and that's what he was doing when he was studying the ragas, with the sitar and all of that. He was consciously using music to awaken people's spirit more. Harrison was really on a spiritual journey. Okay. He got it. John was there because of George. John admired George. I mean, he admired that someone like George could be that pure, to want to dedicate their life to this transcendental thing that George was willing to give up everything for that. I think he would have.
I had a feeling that was correct.
So you could see that what John admired in George was that purity. And I think what John was about was more, he was there for the, sort of like people get stoned on acid.
Right.
He was kind of there for far out kind of
Right.
thing. I mean, he kept on saying, well, when's Marisha going to do magic on us? And is he reading our minds? And, you know, all of this kind of stuff, which both George and I, you know, we said, who cares? You know, he said, but what's he going to do that's going to really blow our minds? We said, can't you tell it's already being done, you know? By the silence that was in that place was unbelievable. So John didn't quite get it, but he admired what it was, you know, he admired George. And I think the reason he felt kindly towards me, you'll read in the book,
Right.
probably his heart felt a lot towards me at one point, but I think he felt kindly, especially because I was like George. You know, I was very much the same. I was willing to do anything for this.
Right.
That nobody else could, you know, tell what we were talking about, this transcendental silence. What's the big
Right.
deal? But we're, and we still are. I mean, you know, George gave his life towards lots of money and lots of things towards making that more of a part of people's lives, and that's the same with me.
Anybody have any other questions?
Well, I've got one. Prudence, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and maybe answer a question that's been on everybody's mind for, you know, since the beginning of time. There's something that has attracted human beings to music. You know, as you know, musical instruments predate tools by something like 30,000 years.
Really?
Believe it or not.
I don't know that.
So the premise basically is that for some reason we were making musical instruments before we needed the need to make a wheel or whatever other tool we needed. And it's universal. What is it, do you think, that makes music so attractive to? I mean, what purpose does it feed? I mean, you know, we can answer that about everything else, but we can't about music, by the way, and it has baffled the best minds.
Yeah.
It's totally anti-Darwinian.
No,
because
right.
there's no need, I mean,
But-
there's no survival
but you know,
need for
the
music.
music
What
back
is it?
then,
It's
wait,
it's
the
your
music,
heartbeat.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, the
heartbeat
music
is the
back
first music.
then was spiritual music.
Yeah.
It wasn't people just going and doing whatever they felt as musicians.
Great point.
Yes.
You're right, because these
And
days,
so it was a door to the soul.
interesting.
It was a door to the spiritual world because we are spiritual and we've forgotten that. And actually, everything that we're doing, everything, you know, from our love interest to the things we buy to the music we listen to, it's all a way to recapture our soul.
Interesting.
But what we find, we can't get it out here. We can only get it by turning inside. And once you get it, which you can, once you get it, then your relationship with this world out here becomes harmonious. It becomes a different kind of relationship where you're not grabbing at things, you're not trying to control it. You're working with it, you're going with it, you're moving, you're in tune with it. So the spirit is that spiritual part of us which music can lead you to. That is what we're here for.
So,
That is what each one of us is looking for.
so if I understand correctly, I think you've said that it's the voice, the guiding voice of the God that we're all seeking, that is inside.
It's a doorway.
The door to the soul.
Yeah, it's a
I
doorway
think is the
to the
best
soul.
way you put it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That is
It can be.
profound.
That's,
That is
that's
profound.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
The right kind of
Yeah.
music. Was it?
Right.
Yes.
Well, again, what a pleasure.
Yeah.
What a pleasure. The door to the soul.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm
gonna
That's what your
trademark that,
father
Peter, be
gave his
careful.
life for.
Thank you.
Yes, and that's
All
what
right.
we
All right,
all
now.
must do, especially as the elders.
Yeah.
The thing is that what I realized, and this is why I wrote my book, I thought I was irrelevant. I was an old person, and certainly in my day, old people were irrelevant. And so I just kind of just accepted that. And then when my grandson made me go visit his school friends, which I had no idea why they'd want to meet his grandmother, I went there and they were all Beatles fans. and they knew the words, they knew it. But what they were really listening to was the message we had, the spirit of that time. Peace, love, hope. And I realized that they're still listening to us as elders.
Yeah.
We're not just irrelevant. If we say to them, which I did, I said, listen, there can be peace in this world. It isn't the lack of violence, it's a state of mind. And you can have it. You can tap into that. It's your spirit. It's our spirit, our collective soul. And I gave them this talk. They all listened. You could hear a pin drop. They're listening to us. So tell them good things. Tell them the truth. And lead them in the right way. We owe it to them. And that's what we can give back.
Well, it does do that. And I'm the son of an Episcopal minister.
Oh.
And so I sang in church. And I remember in 1963, 64, the little radio in the kitchen, and a song came on, and it was, I love you, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, something inside of me changed. It was like, I had heard this traditional music all of my life, and now I heard music that was more touching me.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think music is essential to our souls. And we neglect our souls in the world we live in. I mean, we have a lot of fun things and distractions, but the soul has to be fed. And music is a direct door to that. I myself am, I thought before I went in the direction I went in that I would, I wanted to have something to do with music actually. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have the gift of that. Mm-hmm. And, but I also, as I grew, I was more like your father. I really wanted to go straight to the Spirit. Mm-hmm. And be able to feel it alive in me. And that's when I turned to the East and I meditated and I found a direct way of having that, because at a certain point, without it, I did not feel I could live. So it became absolutely critical that I had that connection, and church did not give it to me. Mm-hmm. And the meditation did, so I was able to do it.
Same with me. The church didn't give it to me either. It was it was the music outside of the church, and it was my quiet time, or when my eyes would close and I would meditate to music at night on the old radio, the old Grundig radio we had, and the songs from the 1960s would play on it, and I would close my eyes and I would be in a different place, and I would feel much more content with myself.
Yes, yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, though, is a practice of yoga. Yeah. It's a different kind of meditation. That's a wonderful, I mean, that's where we're able to let go to such a degree. We're in another place. And that's closest we can get to our spirit before actually being with our spirit. And that's where the meditation allows you to be with your, it's a way of going deep inside. So I'm just making the distinction because there is a distinction, but I'm also saying that music is valuable at the same time.
I agree, and the distinction, I practiced yoga for a number of years, and when you're in a certain position, and you're breathing at certain points in your lungs, and you're feeling what part of the breath where is it coming from, and what position you're in, you're losing yourself, and you're thinking of other thoughts at the same time focusing on the position you're in.
That is yoga. Yoga is a series of practices. It's an ancient science, and we have something like 40 million practitioners of yoga in the United States now. And that started with the Beatles. But the meditation, when you deal with the mind, it's so much more potent because you go deep inside and you connect, you transcend, you go deep inside and connect with a part of the mind that's silent. And if you're in your soul, basically. So it feels very, very good. And yogic meditation, I tried a lot of meditations, and transcendental meditation is part of the yoga system, and that meditation is phenomenal, and that's what we were there in India doing. And so it was very interesting because they were there also to find peace, and I was there to find peace, and their way of sort of expressing the pieces they got, it was through their music, and mine was a little different, but we shared that time where we really were able to go deep within, which was an amazing journey.
And now here we are today at a show where we are showcasing products and
Yeah.
machines that bring the music into our homes and into our lives. The children and the younger people of today with their headphones and their earbuds to listen to the music. These fabulous machines that we're sitting between right here. We can sit right back there, you and I, and we could sit there and we could close our eyes and we could be there, and the Beatles could be right here in
Yeah,
the room
it's
with us.
amazing, yeah.
It's an amazing thing.
It is amazing. It's amazing that technology has given us all what only the few had.
Yeah.
And now we all have it. I mean, people may not necessarily have, enough food or this or that, but we can get technology cheap, and we can all have music. But my only thing is that, but you can't control artists. I mean, nobody wants to, but sometimes I think because of the power of technology and the way we can totally immerse ourselves, it's important that we give people the kind of music that makes their souls generous and makes their souls, larger and giving rather than constricted and more violent and things like that. So I think that all of us, in whatever walk of life we're in, but particularly artists, it's like scientists, in Hitler's time. They could have, been responsible for what they did, but they were doing science or whatever. Well, the same with us. We all of us that are the adults are responsible to the younger people. We're forming the future.
Correct.
By our behavior and what we give them and what we teach them from who we are. And so we really, all of us need to take a good look and be more responsible, because we are leaving them a world, and we're leaving them, a lot of them, a world that, they can either, function in a certain way or not. So it's very, very important that we be more conscious of what we all do and what we give, and especially the artists. And music being as powerful as it is, we really need to do good with it, make better people.
We do, and everybody listen to that very carefully. We need to listen to it more. We need to be better people. We need to be more cognizant of the people around us. We need to work together better as human beings, and music is something that's common to everyone.
Exactly, and people say, oh, well, we can't have world peace. Look at the way people behave. But if all of us became more conscious and followed what you said, people wouldn't behave the way they behave.
That's right.
Yeah, so
That's
if we all do our little bit, we'll have a happier world.
I agree.
And we'll have better musics. The best art is art that transcends and takes the soul to where it's transcendental. And that takes, vision and openness and bigness, not constriction and violence and all that other stuff.
Well, I agree 100% with you, and it's a pleasure to meet you and to
Thank you.
talk about how we all can grow together through the love and appreciation of music.
Yes.
Thank you, dear Prudence.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, too. Thanks.
It's wonderful to meet you.
Here, ditto as well.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh.